Well, hey everybody, Andy Kvernen here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I wonder, do you ever get a little bit reactive in your human relationships? Maybe something bad happens, maybe you're in a conversation with one of your kids or a spouse, and all of a sudden you find yourself responding in a way that you didn't expect. In fact, you're not just responding, you're actually reacting. There's an emotional reaction to what takes place. I was in a conversation last night with one of my family members, and that happened. I reacted to something emotionally, and I wished I hadn't. And it's interesting, as we think about our relationship with Jesus, it's often the case that when we encounter different things, we're prone, rather than to respond like he would, instead to react. And there's this beautiful passage in John chapter 11. I actually preached on this on Easter Sunday this year, but it's where we are in our Bible reading again here for the Cornerstone Connection and in our Bible reading plan here at Cornerstone. So it's something that I want to come back to. In John chapter 11, we come to the scene where Jesus brings Lazarus back to life. And in the preparation for what happens for this great miracle, the resurrection of Lazarus, John lays out several details that I think are really helpful. Now, I mentioned I preached this on Easter Sunday. As I was looking at this passage again this morning, I noticed something that I didn't notice the time before. There's what's called a chiasm here in John chapter 11, at least as far as I'm seeing it. And I'm noticing that the chiasm really makes a profound point. Now, a chiasm is a literary device that takes two parallel statements and makes them on the bookends of a section of Scripture, often a narrative section, but not always. And then it makes another set of statements inside, leading towards the central statement right in the middle. So you have two parallels, often another set of parallels to one central statement. Now, there can be three parallels, either 3 layers or 4 layers, 5 layers. It doesn't necessarily all follow the same, but what happens is these parallel statements lead towards that central argument. And I want you to notice what happens here in John chapter 11 in the form of a chiasm. It says in John 11:1, "Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill." Now here's verse 3. It says, "So the sisters sent to him, saying, 'Lord, he whom you love is ill.'" Now this is the first layer of the chiasm. And I want you to pay attention to this word "so." It says, "So the sisters sent to him." The sisters reacted to Lazarus being ill, and they sent to Jesus. Now it's an understandable reaction, but they react nonetheless. So the text says, they sent to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." Now keep listening. "But when Jesus heard it, he said, 'This illness does not lead to death. It's for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it.'" The second layer of the chiasm is another "so," this time so that the Son of God may be glorified. See, there's a human reaction to current events, to something that's happening in their lives. The sisters are reacting to Lazarus' illness, but the text says, so that the Son of God may be glorified. God has a purpose in it, and I'm going to show you in parallel form how that works. We keep reading. "Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was." Now, I'm going to argue this is the center of the chiasm, and it's a central point of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. But then there's more dialogue, and we get to verse 14. It says, "Then Jesus told them plainly, 'Lazarus has died, and for your sake I'm glad that I was not there, so that you may believe.'" Friends, the interior statement in the chiasm, the B section of the chiasm, what we said earlier, was that God's purpose would be accomplished, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it, verse 4. Now, in verse 15, it says again, one of God's purposes, so that you may believe. There's a B section, so that God may be glorified, the Son of God, and the B prime section is so that you may believe. God's purposes are that second layer of the chiasm. And then the outer layer, Jesus says, "But let us go to him. So Thomas, called the twin, said to his disciples, 'Let us also go, that we may die with him.'" There's the A prime, the outer layer. The first reaction was, so the sisters sent to Jesus, saying, "Lord, Lazarus whom you love is ill." There's a human response. Again, Thomas on the outer layer of the chiasm, another human response. Now I said we come back to the middle, and here it is, friends. Here's the middle. So the sisters, so the Son of God, and again, so that the Son of God, so that you may believe, so Thomas, the outer layers of the chiasm, right in the middle it says, so when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Friends, That's a confounding statement. If Jesus really loved Lazarus, why would he stay 2 days later? And the center of the chiasm is that though humans have a reaction to different things that go on, sometimes we struggle, sometimes we react rather than respond, God has a purpose. And what's that purpose? To do what's necessary to teach us about himself so that we may believe. And in fact, to do what's necessary so that our belief becomes efficacious, becomes effective in our faith, in our forgiveness of sin. Right in the center of this chiasm, it says, so when he heard Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer. Why did he stay 2 days longer? Because he meant to resurrect Lazarus, and he wanted to reveal to Mary, to Martha, to his disciples, to the people that were watching, hey, I'm the Son of God, and if you put your faith in me and in what I can do, you no longer need to react to the world events around you, but instead you can respond knowing that what's necessary is something I've already done. I've already accomplished it. Friends, our purpose in this passage is that we might not react to what's going on around us, but instead we might just understand God's purpose and God's activity such that we might put our faith and our trust in him regardless of what happens. Friends, I hope that makes sense. I hope that encourages you today. God's at the center with his activity of what's necessary for you and me to thrive in his kingdom. Let's put our trust in his work today. God bless you, friends, and Lord willing, we'll see you again soon on the Cornerstone Connection.